Hey guys, so you just saw the demo of how to start your animation, and that's really just one way you can work with it. You'll see when you do your assignment for your ball bouncing, um, it works with animation a slightly different way, right? So I'm just going to show you a few different people's project files, the Photoshop documents, so that you can kind of see different ways people worked with it. This first one, you're going to see screenshots were made just like in my video, right? These layers on top, these are all screenshots. And the imagery was all made below and then could be animated and moved and made visible or not before making a screenshot. Okay, so that's sort of how this one was made. So you have all the separate parts of the image, and then you make screenshots, and basically could select all of these frames. There's a lot of them. And you could say window, let's see, timeline, oops, let's see, window, timeline, oh, and here actually is already his animation that's saved, right? So he made frames from layers, and then he adjusted the timing on them. It looks like most of them are 0.1 seconds, but he altered a few depending on what the chicken was doing, if it needed a pause or something. And you can see down here it's just set to play once. So anyway, let's go to the first frame and you can kind of see. So these were all from screenshots of the imagery that he had. So he just basically changed what was visible and maybe moved objects since the last frame. And then he said Command Option Shift E. And I guess with a PC that would be Control Option or Alt Shift E, right, like everything. And it takes a picture of everything that's visible. Now remember, when you do that, you have to have the top visible layer active. And then just moving them in the order that they go, so that the first frame is on the bottom and then it moves up. It will let Photoshop do a lot of the work for you. Okay, so this guy's was made similar to my video that you just looked at. Let me go ahead, I'm going to delete the animation, okay, so we'll have to start all over again. Okay, what you would do, right, because you have all the imagery below and then you don't have the frames until later, up here. Okay, and his aren't even really in order because that chick at the end is actually in the bottom. So what you do, you click here, you say make frames from layer. If they're all in order, it's going to sort of show every layer as a separate frame. So you would go into the ones you don't want. So I just activated that one, hold Shift, click again to select everything between it. Trash those, yes. Okay, you can move frames too. So like these are actually backwards. I wonder if you could just easily reverse the whole animation. Nope, here's a few more we don't need. Delete those. Right, so this is just taking the layers that he has. And I'm just kind of checking out the order that he has all this in. And it looks like it's still maybe missing a few, or he worked with those in the timeline. So his is a little bit complicated, it looks like. Let's see if I could just reverse the order, if that's an option I have. Reverse frames. Okay. Okay, that was pretty good. So then I would only have to work with the time, right? So you saw in the options I could reverse the frames, and then I just had to work with my time. So I could say, you know, this frame all the way to this frame, and I think he had 0.2 seconds maybe, and then, you know, maybe a few of them were longer. So maybe from here to here are 0.3, right? Something like that. So you can start kind of messing with the timing of it. So that's a little more similar to the animation that I showed you. This animation, you're going to see, was made a little more similarly to the ball assignment. So this girl made a folder for each scene, and you're going to see that she had all of the, like a copy of the doctor in each one of these. Let me turn off the visibility of some of these. Okay, so she didn't actually make from each frame, she used more the animation palette. So she copied the entire doctor, right, and there's like all the parts to the doctor in each one. So if I were to turn each of these on, it's like an entire copy of the doctor. So I think what she did is, you know, if we had this, maybe this is the background, create a frame animation, okay, and this is the first frame. So then I guess I would copy the frame, but then I would change what's visible. Okay, so you'll see 1, 2, right? And then I could copy the frame and just change what's visible. Now, ideally, I would like to see more movement throughout your character and background than this is showing. But anyway, this is another way to do it, right? I'm duplicating a frame and then changing what's visible in that frame. So whatever you have visible is going to show, and after you duplicate it, you could also transform your imagery. It's just that it's created in your frames, so if you mess up somehow, you have to go back and work with all the layers again, rather than just screenshotting and adding those as actual layers up here. Okay, so that's a second way you could do it. The third way, if you like drawing everything, I mean, this guy didn't have to screenshot any of his stuff. He kind of did it the way the last artist did it, just left his background visible, and then just changed what was visible on these layers. So you'll see, if I play this, right, he drew every single frame. So he started with the ball bouncing idea from the assignment, and then just kind of started drawing everything from scratch. Right, so kind of similar to the last one, but every single frame was drawn, and he just left the background visible. So duplicate frame, change what's visible again, and drew. But there's multiple ways of working. You know, when you work in the animation palette specifically, instead of working with the layers up here and just saying making frames from layers, you have to make sure that the frame you want to work with, or multiple frames, right, if you're working with many, are active. And then you have to also make sure the layers that you want to change the visibility on or move are active and visible. So it's a little bit more complicated in some ways, because it's kind of like not working just with layers, but also working with which frames are active and the order and timing all at once. Whew. Okay, I hope that makes sense.